and welcome to Pulse the Venture. I'm Ridu Bhandari. Pulse the Venture is Network 18's hunt for India's most innovative business idea. It's a series in which pre-revenue stage business ideas will compete on television and the winner will walk away with a seed funding of 1 crore rupees to scale up his or her idea. As part of this series, we are also hosting live conversations on Facebook with India's startup heroes. And today I'm joined by someone who's helping you discover your city in unique ways. Dhruv Mathur, co-founder of Little Black Book. Welcome to Pulse the Venture. Thank you so much for joining us today on the show, Dhruv. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thanks so much, Mridu. Very excited to be a part of this.
Thanks. So, you were someone who was into consulting, management consulting back in San Francisco, and then you thought of a startup idea in the digital payments space. Is that what brought you back to India?
So I was actually doing technology consulting in San Francisco, and I was always wanting to come back to India, starting a business of my own. You were seeing so much happening in the space here in terms of the very genesis of internet penetration, smartphone distribution, and really seeing what the US was maturing at. Start up here, right? Yeah. And I think I wanted to just be a part of that. I wanted to come back, see what was going on. Before I actually did my first startup, I did work in a couple of software companies, got a lot of understanding of what the lay of the land was, and then dove in head first, and I have never looked back ever since.
So what did your first startup do exactly?
So the first startup I did was helping small, medium-sized enterprises be able to collect payments for things they were selling, be it a sari or an event or a product or off of Facebook. It was called FB Pay. Right. It predated before UPI and all of Paytm was huge, and it was a small experiment to see if we could actually help small businesses connect with consumers and be able to sell to them. And that was back in 2013-14 timeframe.
So how did the whole integration with the Little Black Book happen?
So when I came back, I think one of the big things at LBB for me, coming back from outside of India, was a big guide to rediscovering Delhi. Delhi had changed significantly. I had been at university in Carnegie Mellon, spent 7 years outside. LBB was my go-to to discover my city. And if you think about what we were trying to do at FB Pay, we were really trying to help a lot of these at-home entrepreneurs, small boutique stores, small venues, the city's real business heroes that do a lot of offline stuff, connect with consumers and and grow. And if you thought about it at a much more macro level, the vision was the same. But LBB was just doing a far superior job because the need really was that to be found, to be discovered. If Mridu today wants to, do her own bespoke jewelry line, who's helping her get discovered? Right? We could help her transact, but who was really driving the demand? And
so
LBB
did you merge your transaction platform onto LBB as well?
So we actually got part of the team. We didn't merge it. We haven't merged it yet. It's part of our roadmap actually, because a lot of what we've seen in India in how the ecosystem is burgeoning. I think today still, the largest set of the population is consuming content and is first trying to discover what is available to them out there. If you even look at the numbers, right, there's 200 million people with access and there's 60 million shoppers. LBB today reaches out to 2 million people in 6 cities, helping them discover their cities through great content, great stories generated by our community. So that's step one. Transactions is just the future of what happens next.
So what are the vertical heads or the categories under which you are helping people discover their cities? And is all of this content user generated only, or do you have teams doing content for you?
So it's actually a blended model. Our community is really the one that shows us the diversity that a city has to offer, and there's some stuff that we also are on top of in terms of keeping the pulse on what's going on in the city. From a vertical perspective, again, our vision is to be part of every lifestyle choice you make, right? If you want to step out to eat, or if you're going to be going to a friend's wedding in the future, or if you want to just check out a new place to get your car painted in a new color. And so the verticals we actually go after are pretty much across your lifestyle: activities, classes, events, shopping, local retail being huge for us, food and drinks, all the way beyond restaurants to even the small chaatwala next doors to the office right here.
Right. So, but all of this content being generated by users, how do you ensure authenticity of content? How do you maintain quality all over these many verticals that you've listed out?
Absolutely. So I think, one thing we also realized on our journey, and a lot of our conversation, and this is really for aspiring entrepreneurs to realize also, is you realize a lot of what different things in your platform and system mean for consumers as you grow and scale. So this question of quality is something we asked ourselves as well. And really, if you think about what we are, a recommendations platform, a local recommendations platform, We used to think quality meant 300 words and 70 pictures that really told the story. In today's day and age, a really nice video with a couple of stickers explaining what it is, and coming from someone you trust, that can also be quality enough for you, right? That was a very key learning for us. How to maintain it across was really to put in the right kind of community and the right kind of encouragement to that community to post those kind of things on the platform itself. I think a lot of what, all the stuff on fake news on Facebook and all of these things happening has shown you that it's really about encouragement in the community, having the right type of people seed it as well as grow it.
So then how do you ensure that right type of people come to the community? Because is there a process that you have for anybody wanting to write for LBB?
So it's very similar to how you see like Instagram attracting a lot of the fashionista crowd, right? If the right content is there in the first place, and this is why our team has to seed or start up a city. If you see a certain type of recommendations happening on the platform, you get that audience, and hence that's the first audience that starts contributing. So it's always about what you create first and how the community follows, right? If you created a platform which was, very specific to, another type of sports, for example, you would see sports audiences and hence more sports content. So it's really a cycle you need to encourage and follow as a platform.
Right. So interestingly, and you have a co-founder as well. Suchita was the one who started the business in 2013, and then you came on board in 2015. So for all those entrepreneurs who are looking to build a team or the core top management of an organization, what are the tips to keep in mind while choosing the right co-founder? How do your and Suchita's skills, for instance, complement each other? Absolutely.
I think this is a question more valid for Suchita, but I'll try and answer on her behalf. I think, the one major thing you need to realize is that when you're working with someone, there needs to be a deep level of trust and a level of commitment to the vision. Because I think if you know what the vision is, what is it that you're trying to provide as a service or an offering, the path changes. The path will change dramatically along the way, and you need to be ready for that fight. You can't be married to how you are getting there. It's really what are you trying to create. I think that is really the fundamental basis of picking who the right person is. Depending again, obviously, on what you're trying to build, you pick a person to work with who has not the same skills, but analog skills, and also skills that help you build up sides of the product you could not have done yourself. So I was coming from a technology background. Suchita has a fantastic background in both revenue generation as well as media and communication. Right. So that's where the fit was. But at the end of the day, trust and an alignment on vision is the most important thing.
Do you recommend doing business with friends? That's something a lot of people ask, that, are we jeopardizing our friendship by entering into business together, or is it a good idea to work with somebody you know well?
Absolutely. I've actually done business with a friend before, which is an interesting question.
And you're still friends?
We are still friends, right? Okay. So I think the important part to think about when you're thinking about doing business with friends is an understanding of each other's commitment and timelines, personally, very personally, as well as a commitment to each other on what happens when things don't go right. When things are going well, it's actually easier to make decisions, but when things don't go well, there should be a very concrete understanding of what that means. And I think, when you walk into the workplace, to grow and to really deliver at a certain level of, kind of a discipline in your company, you need to have conflict. And you need to be comfortable that when you're walking into the workplace, your friendship is, at home. When you walk out, you can go have beers and resolve, but that's really important to have an understanding on.
Right. All right. So how tough is competition really in this space, and who is LBB really competing with? I fail to think of another startup doing similar business right now.
Yeah, and I hope this show aims to inspire other people, but not to compete with us. But it's a good question. I think when you're trying to service the needs, right, if we look at it from a perspective of a larger vision, there are definitely people in other verticals that help you discover different parts of your city in different ways. But really in the way we want to do it, in the way where Mridu can open up her LBB app and she'll get a relevant recommendation from someone she knows or trusts. Nobody's really in that space right now. But I think, what you need to remember when you're building a startup and you want to scale like we have to this size we are today, to the number of cities, is always make sure you're also thinking about competing factors outside of just what you do. Competing for time. We compete with other, with TV for time, for example. Competing for dollars, you compete with Amazon for dollars, for example. Right. So you just need to be cognizant, but not afraid of. You need to carve your own niche and be very concentrate very well on, scaling that niche.
All right. So you're currently reaching out to over 2 million people, you said, and you're in about 6 cities across India. What's the roadmap for this fiscal?
So for this fiscal, we actually want to be, in every major metro in India. We also are starting to do satellite cities that are coming up outside of the major metros, right? So for example, Pune is a major metro. It's also something that Mumbai folks and Pune folks have a very good symbiotic relationship in visiting each other's cities. So the real goal is to have that kind of coverage, to scale up, to reach out to over 5 to 10 million people, within the next 12 months. Every time, every year we look back, we've kind of been able to almost 8 to 10x the kind of reach we've had, and it's been a focus for us. And really, I think the roadmap for us is really doubling down on what we've created as a platform, a community, and a product. So really investing in technology to scale us to the next step.
Okay, so technology is going to be a big investment. For all those of you who are watching this Facebook Live, you're welcome to ask questions. Dhruv is here to answer them. And as soon as I have better data connectivity, I will be taking up all of those questions. But in the meantime, you're investing also into data analytics, I'm told. So what are the sort of insights you're trying to get out of data analytics? Is it going to help your readers in a big way?
Absolutely. So I think, an investment in data has been there from the get-go, from the day we actually, started creating so much from our website and from our app. Understanding your consumers is something that now is not an option. It is something that is a given in any technology platform. Right. And really the information we glean just helps us to make our product better. It starts with the very basic level of making your product actually just function better, but it also goes deeper into serving needs better, right? So if I understand what you consume, what your daily habits are, where you spend time, I can always give you a product offering that is much more relevant to your day-to-day lifestyle. And that's really what we've invested in creating that spine of data as well as learning. And I wouldn't go as far as saying machine learning, but just learning internally to put machine learning in place, to be able to feed back to you what is the most relevant thing to you.
So what are some of the most interesting data points that you've gathered in the recent past?
Yeah. Great question. I think one of the really interesting things we've seen is that every city has a very different way of reacting to different types of discoveries or recommendations on their platform. And you start seeing how active things are in a Mumbai versus a Bangalore, how Delhiites love budget, but they also love their Emporio. So I think one big learning for us has been that even though cities are similar in how they scale and operate, the diversity in each of them is very unique, right? Even when we look at Delhi and Gurgaon, right, we always used to treat it as one. One of the interesting things we saw with Gurgaon, though, Gurgaon is very proud of being from Gurgaon, and they are very open to exploring their city, but may not travel to Delhi so much, right? And that is something that we, took and then responded to by creating LBB Gurgaon, making a separate focus on it and pushing that out there. So I think a lot of what you learn is the diversity that a city has to offer and how you have to really respond to that with the product offering you have.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about numbers. You've raised about 10 crores in funding so far from the likes of Rajananandan and Singapore Angel Network.
As well as IDG, large VC, yeah.
Correct. So is it stressful to be chasing numbers and keeping investors happy?
I think it's it depends on the relationships you build and the promises you make, right? And I know it's a very big answer to give, but I think from the get-go, LBB has been a revenue-generating business. We've always been a business that's focused on having a lean operation, that is focused on having an operation driven by product and technology first versus by money first, right? There are different ways to scale a business. We chose a path that is sustainable as well as revenue-generating going forward, though it might not be at the pace of, say, another startup that's doing billboards everywhere, but it's fine. And I think if there is a deep understanding with your investors on what choices you are making to take your company and your business to the next level and your product to that next 10 million users, next 100 million users, as long as that understanding is there, the pressure is very different, right? The pressure and the conversations are differently had, and it's less about just get those numbers regardless of what happens. It's more about let's create a business we're all proud of at the end of the day.
So what are your numbers like today? Are you profitable yet? What's your revenue model like?
So we have a revenue model that helps us actually, solve for small and medium-sized businesses. We actually do a very blend of different types of revenue streams. One thing we've learned is, as I was saying with data, you improve your product. You also improve your revenue through the technology platforms you build, through the product understanding you have. So we help them generate leads, we help them fulfill transactions, we all obviously help them get a lot of awareness through brand advertising. So there's lots of different bespoke ways we actually work with teams. We actually have the smallest team in our company is the sales team, but they are a spectacular team. Just because they've started understanding their consumer, which is the merchant in this case, so much better. How we are actually, we tend to break even every 1 to 2 quarters. We tend to only raise money to scale up our platform and our reach and our audience. And that's how we've always operated as a business.
All right. So do you also get mentored by the likes of Rajan Anandan, who's invested in your company?
I mean, we get to speak with him, maybe once in a quarter or 6 months, and it's fantastic conversation every time. Even Sachin Bhatia, who's a co-founder, Truly Madly, and Make My Trip, he's very, very available. We have also excellent advisors in Mona Gandhi, who leads APAC strategic partnerships for Airbnb, as well as Rajiv Sathe, who leads a UX consultancy in Mumbai. I think these folks, the advisors, are really the people who've, and when you talk about mentorship, are the people who keep you going in a lot of ways. Because when you're feeling like you may be making mistakes or you have big decisions to make which you haven't faced before, they definitely are there.
Consult.
But I think you can't expect it as they're not there all the time, just giving advice. It's more, you need to be very constructive about involving them in your business decisions and constructive about the kind of advice you need. And I think that is actually one of the big reasons why we've been able to succeed and scale so far.
So share with us two of the best tips that you've received from investors.
Interesting. Investors or advisors, mentors?
Mentors.
Okay, either one.
I mean, both. Like Rajan Anandan is an investor as well as a mentor.
As well as a mentor. I think one of the great tips we got was, a lot of what Rajan is able to give you is a macro level picture of what's going on, right? So, I remember when we met with Rajan and we've been discussing advertising models, transactional models, and he said a very simple thing. He said, look at the discrepancy or the big divide between how many people are today accessing the internet and accessing their smartphones and devices to get content, to kind of interact and find things and read, view, watch, whatever, versus shopping. And it's a huge divide. It's like 250 million versus like a 50-60 million number. And think about what battle you want to play at, which is really contextually for us very relevant to understand, because you can't be doing everything at the same time. That was really great. I think that's been a really insightful learning, is getting those macro pictures. And another example of a really good tip we got has been from Mona at Airbnb, who's really helped us focus on making data and data as a metrics across your organization, a very big focus for your entire well-being. Asking someone like, if I said, your performance is going to be evaluated on everything which is quantifiable, it's a very hard task in an organization, even today 40 people. But it is something as a culture you must build in, because everybody then takes a lot of ownership of what they're trying to create. And I think that was great advice.
That's one of the things that's very critical for any startup to do, to attract good talent, to really build that culture right from day one. Okay, so let's take our first question. Abhishek Sinha asks, are you planning to go into vernacular content anytime soon?
So that's a fantastic question we ask ourselves also. I think vernacular
the market is huge.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. We've actually worked with some folks to see how translation works out on content as well. But I think the approach to vernacular has to be slightly more innovative than translation of content, right? Today, if you have to translate content,
it has to be exclusive to that.
It maybe have to be exclusive, but I'll give you another example. We could just do it through video, right? So if you're doing local recommendations, and I'm trying to show you a boutique in Shahpur. One way is that it's English content. The other way is I show you a video. Now, a Hindi native speaker can look around, the technology is available today, and have discovered something, versus having translated it into a Hindi or a Tamil or a Malayalam and trying to do the same justice to what you're trying to, really portray. So I think vernacular and attacking vernacular is a part of our roadmap, absolutely. The question is how. You have to be very innovative in thinking about the future of how anybody in that ecosystem is going to be interacting. With Jio giving phones away, they're going to have great data. Right? So really take them to that place, and that's, you have the ability to do it.
Also, any plans of moving outside of India?
Yes, we want to. I think, but we need to get our India story done first. I think we look at being in every city that's going to be the New York of tomorrow, right? You've got your Singapore, you've got your, your Jakartas, you've got large Indian populations there to help you kind of migrate over as well. So I think we want to go to all those cities. We want to get our story right in every city and really be, a deep presence there, and then go to the next one.
Right. And your target audience is mostly millennials. So is there a theme to all the content that you generate? Is it targeted only to a specific age group?
Not really. I think from a consumption standpoint, there's just the volume of consumers are in the millennial segment. We actually see a very diverse audience. Everything from at-home, moms who are working from their homes or have, or a kind of a double income, single child families, professionals across the board. So when we think about, what is our, TG or our TAM, we think about LinkedIn, right? Everybody who's working in any kind of way and has some disposable income, wants to explore their city. That's your target market.
Right.
I think in trend-wise, what you see is millennials drive a lot of the conversation because they're so comfortable with the medium.
Yeah.
So you will see that community of people generating things that is more relevant to them. But it's not that you don't see the same thing happening, in a different TG.
Right.
My dad loves posting on LBB, but he's posting things that are more relevant to his network and his age group.
Sure.
So I think it is a focus because it is the largest volume of consumer. It is a focus in how they respond and interact. But you need to know that the product you're building is bigger than that, right? And it's big for a bigger audience.
Okay. So here's another question from Shirish, and he asks, what according to you are the best revenue models for content-driven platforms?
I think, that's a fantastic question. I think
it is tough to monetize content, isn't it?
It depends on what's the, what value are you trying to provide? So again, we are not in the business of news. We're not in the business of the pure play content. The value we're trying to provide is help you discover a local recommendation, right? Now for that, the value I'm trying to drive, I have tens of thousands of businesses and merchants being discovered. What is it that they want? They want a sale, they want a lead, they want 100 people in that locality to know about them, and you need to devise models for that. So I think we need to move the conversation beyond what is the, how do you monetize content to what is the value I want to create for the type of content I am doing here. If you think about it, Google's a content company. It gives you 10 links to content somewhere else, right? They've monetized it very effectively. They've distributed it very effectively. But at the end of the day, they're delivering you 10 links to other content.
But what's working best for you?
For us, what works best is, I think, things that show direct result to a brand, right? So when it's awareness related, if it's something that's getting a lot of saves, a lot of people calling them, lead generation is always something that they love. I think these channels, which directly impact, the bottom line for our vendors, is what works. We also work with larger brands, right?
Yeah.
So like
what sort of partnerships do you do with larger brands? And also, is there paid content also available on LBB? So, if there is a merchant who wants something written about him or her, can they pay for it and be on LBB?
So very small percent actually. We only try to do that to about 3 to 5% of it, and we're very transparent. You will always see a tag telling you if it's paid content, very openly so. And actually, what we've seen the trend shift towards is not really paid content like write about me, but it's more about saying that I am associated or I support this kind of cause, right? And I think that is a much more clearer indication for an audience member as well. You should be transparent. With larger brands, and larger brands are the ones who participate in this kind of partnerships. A lot of the partnerships we do are to actually get a behavior or an activity going that is in line. So if we work with a really international shoemaker with a shoe brand with different kinds of athletic wear, you want activities, you want outdoor activities, you want things that are very relevant to your platform to be showcased with partnership of this brand that is wanting to also affiliate themselves with it. And that's the right way to go, right? That's because you are winning on both sides. Your consumer's happy as well as the brand you're working with.
So if Pulse the Venture was to tie up with LBB, what would be your content strategy, the cause being entrepreneurship in this case?
So I think, first I would ask you, Mridu, what is the audience you're trying to reach out to, right? So I think today, if you think about it, co-working spaces, right? Where are these pre-revenue stage companies at? How many co-working spaces exist around you? There's a lot in Noida, there's a lot in Gurgaon and Delhi. What we would do is Pulse the Venture in association. We're going around and doing some interesting discoveries, recommendations. Ask our community, where do you do co-working? Right audience, right target. You want them to watch the show. You also want them to come participate on the show. That's the kind of thing that we would try and partner with. Let's do something where the content is created by the community. We have so many recommendations from people in our community about co-working spaces, right? Can we start mobilizing them to be your ambassadors? And that's, an exact fit to what you would want your brand to be partnering with.
And this you would do across any kind of cause and any kind of genre?
You would, you have to, obviously you have to, try and be able to match it. If the brand doesn't match, sometimes you have to swallow the hard pill, and we have that honest conversation. But obviously, using data, using technology, using our product's ability to understand our consumer better, which we do so well today, is what you need to be able to use to also generate revenue for the brands that you're working with.
Right. And of course, we'd have to pay for that partnership.
I mean, if you'd like to, that'll be
if
great.
You'd like to, nobody likes to pay.
No. But I think it's, it's something that you need to kind of evaluate as what is your goals. And if they're matching with what the platform is trying to promote, I think that's really important to, be affiliated with.
All right. Cool. So let's do a quick rapid fire round with you.
I'm terrible at these. Let's try, yeah.
All right. So, an experience that you discovered in your city through LBB.
The 7 Great Lakes, which there are mines are outside Jasola, where the shooting range is, the bird sanctuary is the shooting
Really?
range.
There are 7
Jasola,
lakes?
There are lakes that were created, because of the mining activities that went there. It's not a safe area, guys. Disclaimer. I discovered it through LBB that there are these just natural lakes that got made there. It's a very unsafe area today, but I had gone for a walk. It's crazy that you find that in your city. Another thing I did on a weekend was I made terrariums. There was a terrarium making workshop going on.
All right.
Really cool.
Okay, so we got to keep that short and snappy. Since
Done.
It's
Sorry.
rapid fire. Yeah. A quality in your co-founder that you wish you had?
The level of aggression in which she operates in meeting what goals she sets for herself.
Yeah, tough to deal with that aggression?
Not at all. It's inspiring, actually, for everybody. Yeah.
All right, great. Your biggest competitor today?
I would say for time, it's probably like Facebook for Mindspace. But otherwise, I can't think of one particular one. Right?
Okay, all right. Your biggest milestone?
I think reaching that million number. I think million is a big number. You get very excited when you see million, but you realize you need to get to 10 and then 100.
All right, great. Your biggest milestone today?
Another milestone?
Sorry. I asked you that. A number that you're chasing today?
I think a number that we're chasing today is seeing how frequently I can get someone to use our product, right? So today they use it about anywhere from 2 to 3 times a week. I want it to be every day. And I think that's something.
So 7 is your number then?
7 is my number.
Okay, great. One word vision for LBB for the future?
One word, it's personal, it's yours, it's your LBB.
Okay. A business leader who inspires you, you can't say Rajan Anandan.
Jeff Bezos, any day.
All right. Okay. And your final one word advice, or maybe I'll let you have 3 or 4 words for that one, to aspiring entrepreneurs who are going to be participating on Pulse the Venture.
Be fearless. I think that's the one word, right? Be fearless of anything that you're trying to operate and do. There are words like discipline, resilience. All of these, I think, come back to having fearlessness in your vision and doing whatever it takes to achieve it. And I think that's the word you need to remember.
Fearlessness and inspiration from Jeff Bezos. Why Jeff? What is it that
I think Jeff?
What are the 2, maybe 1 or 2 top things? I mean,
I've copied so many things I've said today from Jeff Bezos, but I think one thing that I really think he has on point is he believes that every day is the first day that you are born as a business and a product, right? He says it's day one. Amazon's philosophy is day one. It's a company, we're talking about a $34 billion company, saying it is day one for them, right? And that should be the way we think, because innovation requires you to think.
So how do you implement that daily?
We ask ourselves the question of what are we doing for the next million and the next 10 million? And that's how you implement it in-house. Don't rest on your laurels. Think about what's going to happen in the next 1, 2, 3 days and years coming forward.
So what's happening in the next 3 days at LBB that's vastly different from today?
We're actually putting in excellent search capabilities. So you're going to be very quickly be able to travel to trade towers and just boop out and see great recommendations around you.
Okay, and that's happening in the next 3 days?
Next 3 days is a little short, but very quickly, soon after.
Okay, so hope that happens very soon. Thank you so much, Dhruv Mathur, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And thank you for joining in to this special Facebook Live as part of Pulse the Venture, Network 18's hunt for India's next big innovative business idea. Remember, the winner of this televised business reality show gets to walk away with 1 crore rupees of seed funding. So keep following this page for more updates, and the conversations will continue here. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.